The bombshells keep on coming, and we can call them bombshells right now. I mean, we're starting to see a little more about what exactly transpired with the Obama administration and his FBI when they were basically planting the seeds to try to undermine the Trump administration. And this goes back to before he was even inaugurated, before he even took the office of the presidency, the time between the election and when he was inaugurated. They were doing everything they could to try to undermine Trump, to try to keep the people that were part of the Obama administration and the Obama FBI and all the plants from the Obama administration. They were trying to keep them in place, keep them active, keep them apprised of what was going on, and make it so that they were able to operate even after Trump took office and when he was inaugurated, because that was their in to try to take Trump out from the inside out. And you go back to, the FBI lovers, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, and what they were doing to try to undermine Trump and everything that was going on after he became president. And today there was a letter to Director Wray from Jim Jordan. And this is not going to be this isn't going to be reported on much by the mainstream media. They're not really going to care much about this, but they're starting to tie together the pieces of the fake, phony Russia dossier and how that tied in to trying to take down Flynn and trying to undermine Trump. So this letter, dated May 4th, said that since President Donald Trump launched his campaign for the White House, several investigations have exposed political bias and serious misconduct in the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Obama-Biden era FBI used Democrat-funded opposition research and Russian disinformation as well as doctored evidence as a basis to illegally spy on a Trump campaign associate. Former FBI Director James Comey caused sensitive information about his interactions with President Trump to leak to the media. So they were leaking. They were leaking constantly. Comey was leaking. Most of the FBI that was going after Trump was leaking like a sieve. And, they talk about how Comey wrote down those memos after he spoke to Trump in Trump Tower. And those memos were somehow proof that there was nefarious things going on. But turns out those memos were a bunch of nonsense. So senior FBI employees discussed an, quote, insurance policy against President Trump. And this goes back to Strzok and Page with their insurance policy. If Trump did get elected, they had an insurance policy, which was a means to try to take him out. And now we have new revelations that the FBI's interactions with former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn that made it clear that the FBI's wrongdoing is worse than previously known. These revelations suggest a pattern of misconduct and politicization at the highest levels of the Obama-Biden era FBI. On April 29, 2020, a United States district judge unsealed documents that had been previously withheld from General Flynn and his legal team. These documents reveal that the FBI had apparently sought to set a perjury trap for General Flynn during an interview on January 24, 2017. One newly produced document, a handwritten note dated January 24th, 2017, reportedly written by FBI Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Bill Priestap, explained that the FBI's objective was to get Flynn to lie so they could prosecute him and get him fired. So they set a perjury trap to try to take down one of Trump's guys. And it says that this revelation is striking because an earlier FBI memorandum dated January 4th, 2017, noted that the FBI's Washington field office had found no derogatory information about Lieutenant Flynn, essentially clearing him from allegations that he was a Russian agent. So they were going after Flynn, trying to say he was a Russian agent, and they concluded that the FBI's investigation into Flynn should be closed. They literally said that his investigation should be closed. They have nothing against him. That's it. But according to an FBI text messages, however, disgraced FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok intervened. So they said it should be closed, and then Strzok intervened and basically said that to prevent the same day to prevent the FBI from closing Lieutenant Flynn's case, noting that the FBI senior leadership on the quote seventh floor was involved. So, and then you have to go back and wonder this. They've talked about the seventh floor of the FBI before, and this would lead one to believe that this is the upper echelon of the FBI, and that's what we've been saying all along. Every time that there's talk about what took place in the FBI, it's not the people doing the grunt work. It's the upper people in the FBI. So when they try to spin it and say that you hate law enforcement, you don't like the FBI, you're anti-FBI, anti-law enforcement, that's not the case. That is absolutely not the case, because it's not the people doing the grunt work. It's not the actual agents. It's those above them that are pulling the strings. And that's perfect. That's clearly the case right here, because they said there was nothing on Flynn. They were going to close it out. And then the upper echelon said no. The seventh floor said that we're going to do something else. So clearly the FBI's mission is to do justice dispassionately, but these documents suggest that the FBI ignored protocol to confront Lieutenant Flynn about a potential violation of an obscure, rarely charged offense, with the real goal of forcing Flynn to resign or face prosecution. The FBI pursued Flynn despite knowing that he was not a Russian agent, and even after the FBI became aware that the central piece of the evidence of alleged Russia collusion, the so-called Steele dossier, was based on Russian disinformation. So this goes back to the Steele dossier, which we all know was funded by the DNC, and the central piece of evidence against Flynn when they were accusing him of alleged Russia collusion was the Steele dossier. So one of the basic components of trying to go after Flynn was the bogus dossier. So placing these events in context reveals the extent to which the FBI facilitated an incorrect public impression of alleged Trump campaign collusion with Russia. And this disproves the entire narrative of what they were using to try to take Trump down. They went on and on. We had a complete investigation about alleged Russia collusion, and it was all nonsense. It was all bogus, like we said from the very get-go. And this just confirms what we already knew. But we're not going to see this type of thing get reported on in the mainstream media, because they're too concerned with the fact that Trump calls the coronavirus the China virus, and he stormed off stage. And a few weeks ago, they claimed that he was telling people that they should inject themselves with bleach, which was utter nonsense. So this letter basically explains the timeline with which everything took place, and it's in great detail with footnotes for everything. And again, the question is this going to be reported on by those in the mainstream media? So, and it concludes here by saying, we write to request that you immediately review the actions of the FBI in targeting Lieutenant Flynn. The American people continue to learn troubling details about the politicization and misconduct at the highest levels of the FBI during the Obama-Biden administration. Are the people that were corrupt, the corrupt individuals that were part of the FBI under Obama, are they going to be looked into? Are we going to know their names? They were unmasking the names of so many different Americans during the Obama administration when they were wiretapping and whatnot. Are we going to know the people? We should be privy to if they're going to illegally unmask American citizens, then why shouldn't we know the people that were doing the unmasking, that were actually committing the crimes when it was taking place? So it says, even more concerning, we continue to learn these new details from litigation and investigations, not from you. It is well past time that you show, when he says you, he means Director Wray. It is well past time that you show the leadership necessary to bring the FBI past the abuses of the Obama-Biden era. Please facilitate making former FBI Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Division Bill Priestap and FBI Agent Joe Pientka available for transcribed interviews about their actions related to Lieutenant Flynn. Please ask your staff to contact the committee as soon as possible to schedule the interviews. In addition, please provide the following documents and information. And then he goes on here to show the different documents and the information that he's requesting. So essentially, this letter should be shared everywhere. This should be shared everywhere. People need to know that the Obama-Biden administration was corrupt. His FBI was corrupt. And what they were doing to Lieutenant General Flynn if they get away with it, that is something that they could think about it. They were able to do what they did to Lieutenant Flynn, means that they could do these types of things to the average American citizen in the blink of an eye. It wouldn't matter whatsoever for them to do this to an American citizen if they're able to do it to people in the highest levels of government.